Square Enix. We tried to warn you. You see, the Xbox community tried to warn Square Enix. Square Enix knew that the most money they ever made was when their games went multi-plat, meaning every console. But they went to make a deal with these ponies and jabronis, and now they are feeling the bite. You see, Square Enix is reporting that, their sales dropped year on year, despite releasing Final Fantasy VII Reboot. How was Square Enix expecting these ponies to buy this game when they could barely afford an oil change?
When you take your car, get an oil change, they tell you that your car needs brakes. I ain't bring my car here for no damn brakes. Change my oil. Barely got money to get the oil change. Now you telling me I need brakes and rotors and all that. I ain't got that kind of money right now, sir. Change my oil. Which one? The cheapest one you got. Running me hot with all that. Got my
Square Enix knew that. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, PlayStation fans don't buy their exclusives. Look at the install base for Horizon on the PlayStation 4. Look at the install base for God of War on the PlayStation 4 and 5. You could see that these ponies don't buy their exclusives. What the sales Sony is getting is from multiplayer, the casuals. That is where you will get the money. Multiplayer and casuals. So let's listen to this report.
Square Enix sales drop year on year, despite release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but still turns a profit following restructure.
Sales of Square Enix games have dropped compared to last year despite the high-profile release of Final Fantasy VII Reboot.
According to its latest earnings report, the company's overall net sales dropped by 18.4% year-on-year for the most recent quarter. This is driven in part due to a decline in sales of new games. By comparison, the same quarter in 2023 saw the release of Final Fantasy XVI and the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. However, the company has still turned a profit with its games this year on lower development cost amortization and advertising expenses. What's more, its MMO sub-segment saw a rise in sales and profits compared to last year. This latest quarter does not include the July release of Final Fantasy XIV Expansion Dawn Trail, though clearly interest has risen ahead of its release. Expect a considerable boost to profits in the next quarterly results. Mobile games, meanwhile, have also seen sales decline, due to weak sales of existing titles, presumably including last year's release of free-to-play gacha game Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. However, profits have increased due to optimization of operational expenses. Overall, Square Enix is continuing determined efforts to strengthen the competitiveness and profitability of its business. At the start of the year, company president Takashi Kiryu announced a review of the company's development system to boost quality and profits. As part of this, the company abandoned £112 million of in-development projects that resulted in a loss for the previous financial year. It's now aggressively pursuing a multi-platform strategy. It's clear, then, Square Enix is in a reset phase and its restructuring has resulted in a profit despite disappointing sales of its existing games. The company also laid off staff in its US and European offices as part of structural reforms. Sales of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth were not specifically included in this financial report, though previously it was reported sales were underperforming. The third and final part of that trilogy is yet to be fully revealed or a release window provided, but director Naoki Hamaguchi has confirmed the popular card game Queen's Blood will make a revamped return.
So there's the proof. We have enough proof to help us to see that the PlayStation fans did not buy most of Square Enix games that was exclusive to them. And a matter of fact, we know, according to this report, that the sales of Final Fantasy VII Reboot was not substantial. It was down. So this is why we are seeing Square Enix, in this predicament. But let's now talk about not only that the PlayStation community is responsible for Square Enix seeing, loss of revenue and loss of profits, but let's talk about these guys also doing damage to the PlayStation 5. You see, last week, the PlayStation community made a lot of videos. I saw a lot of articles talking about the Xbox Series consoles are down, right? So we would hope that they are keeping the same energy, because guess what? Flo Rida rolled up into PlayStation and he is basically saying that the console sales in PlayStation is that's Flo Rida saying it, not me. So you know what? Let's get it.
This is a sickness.
Let's get it. So before we continue with the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. It will only take a couple of seconds. We are trying to grow the channel to up to 3,000 subs by the end of the year. I believe we could do it. Of course, you get the great content of Xbox news, a little bit of Nintendo, and of course the Sony pony salt. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now let's get back to the video. First up, it's a very good thing to see. A past Sony mascot is gracing Game Pass, because right now this mascot is no longer Sony's own. Now it belongs to Microsoft. Take a look. Yes, Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy, is available on Game Pass for free $99. And while other gamers would have to pay full price for this game, you know, it's an old game. However, it's a nice, a nice perk to see this game on Game Pass. So those who enjoy Crash Bandicoot, this is a nice little treat for you. This one must have stung the PlayStation community. Let's continue the other topics. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation community. So we have ponies. When they have nothing to talk about, they talk about Xbox. Yes, these ponies are relentless to bring propaganda, to bring lies about Xbox. And they keep giving themselves L's whole day, every day. Look at this one pony, Portorock, as he continues to give himself a big fat L. Look and see how he is exposed.
The destination is just not as close as you think. So Microsoft announced, as you can see here from Xbox, so many games coming. As such, we moved about to February 18th, 2025 to give players backlogs some breathing room. Stay tuned for more from our games across Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, and Xbox Game Studios at Gamescom, including our August 23 live stream for a look at Avowed, right? If you look at it, look at this image. This image alone, the first three you can't even play on the Xbox console. World of Warcraft is PC only. Age of Mythology is retold PC only.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But this shit just doesn't help. And I'm not even going to go into support the developers, but let's be honest. If they're selling the games for $60-$70 and you got the game for $15 a month, something's got to give. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. The system has to, Microsoft's not the nice guy. They're not doing this for charity. Something is going to come back and bite us. And it's either they're going to skip your platform, which is what's happening. The middle tier devs are skipping the platform because they're not going to put it on Game Pass. The console shit. There's not enough people. Not worth the trouble. Like, for example, Capcom and SNK. They're not putting their games on there. Xbox community has the most dumbest gamers in their community.
So as I told you guys, these guys keep giving themselves L's. So let them continue to cry about the Xbox while they continue to beg for that secret showcase hosted by Sean Layden and the Easter Bunny. So let's move on to the last topic. Last week, Microsoft would have revealed their financial earnings for Q4. In that report, they said that Xbox hardware was down 42%, but Xbox content was up 61%. Now, of course, the biased media went to town with that report, reporting that because Microsoft hardware was down 42%, Xbox was dead. Xbox have no coming back, the console is all over, and Microsoft and Xbox is going all software, all third party. That was the narrative they were spitting last week. Now, a number of Pony fans was also echoing the news of the biased media, and they were saying the same thing. Now, one would think that if one is saying that about one platform, that their platform would not have any drops, their platforms would only have increases. Well, the PlayStation report was just out, and let's just say that things is not going too well for the PlayStation console.
PS5 console sales are down. Sony's latest quarterly fiscal report reveals that PlayStation 5 sales numbers have declined year over year. Although the PS5 has ranked high on global sales charts since its launch in late 2020, it seems the sales pace for the current generation system has started to slow down.
So the PlayStation community would have you think that everything is all good in the hood for PlayStation, but the evidence is showing that the console is slowing down. And what makes this bad for Sony is that their whole strategy is console.
During its February 2024 earnings call, Sony predicted the commercial drop-off and attributed it to the PS5 entering the latter stage of its life cycle. This even led to the gaming giant scaling back its FY 2025 April 2024 to April 2025 sales forecast for the PS5 to 18 million units. For perspective, the PS5's initial FY 2024 April 2023 to April 2024 sales projection was a lofty 25 million units, which was later slashed to 21 million units. Interestingly, PS5 shipments for FY 2024 still fell short of the reduced forecast by roughly 200,000 units, which likely encouraged Sony to set a more reasonable target for the current financial year.
So after making 3, 4, 5, 20 videos on the Xbox is dying because the console sales was down 42%, I wonder why after cutting the sales expectations for the PlayStation 5, it didn't even meet that sales expectation. It goes to show that every console is going down. It goes to show that Microsoft would have chosen the right path by not focusing solely on console. They are so focusing on getting persons to come in the door with the Fire Stick, with the Samsung TVs, and we are hearing about a rumored Xbox portable. All of these avenues Microsoft has thrown their hat in the ring with. They are not solely dependent on the console like Sony. But we'll see how things develop.
Sony's Q1 FY 2025 financial report has now been released, and it shows that the company sold 2.4 million PS5 units from April to June 2024. This translates to a 27% dip compared to the 3.3 million units the console sold in the first quarter of FY 2024.
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon?
However, it's worth mentioning that 2023 is considered a peak sales year for the PS5 due to supply chain pipelines finally clearing up after 2 years and allowing for widespread availability of the current gen machine. Therefore, a year-over-year sales decline was likely aligned with Sony's expectations and doesn't allude to a sharp drop in demand for the PS5. 61.7 million units and counting. By contrast, Microsoft recently announced that Xbox Series X sales were down 42% in the same timeframe, despite already being 31% down in the preceding quarter. Aside from quarterly sales figures, Sony's Q1 FY 2025 fiscal report revealed that the PS5 has exceeded 60 million lifetime sales, currently sitting at just over 61.7 million units. Moreover, Sony also recorded a monthly active user count of 116 million during this quarter, which is 7.5% higher than the 108 million users recorded last year. However, subtracting the PS5's current sales numbers reveals that over 54 million PlayStation users are still on the PS4.
So this report did a lot of things. So the PlayStation community is focusing on how many consoles that are sold. The report showed that Sony sold 61 million consoles. Now, the PlayStation fans are saying, wow, they are basically doubling what Microsoft has. And I will say no, not based on what an official site that is counting consoles are saying. Look at this site here. Well, according to Statista, they are saying that the Xbox would have sold 44 million units, while the PlayStation 5 would have sold over 67 million units. Now, how accurate is this website? Well, a lot of persons, they support it. So it does giving us an overview as to how much the PlayStation 5 is ahead of the Xbox Series consoles when it comes to the consoles. But so what is going through most of these Sony fans' head is that Sony is no longer judging the success of their platform based on how many units are sold. And that's not me saying that. That is what Sony has said. It's very clear that they are looking at monthly active users. Now, what does this report say how they are doing with monthly active users? Well, this report said they have 116 million monthly active users. Now, that is a little percentage up. I believe it's 77% up from the previous quarter. However, it is down from the 118 million monthly active user they had at a peak. Now, if we was to compare what Microsoft is doing when it comes to monthly active users, we see it's night and day. Because according to Satya Nadella himself, he is saying that Xbox would have reached over 500 million monthly active users. So we are seeing that Microsoft is beating Sony at their own game, what they are trying to play. So let me hear what you thought about this. Is it that Sony is killing it and we don't have to worry about Sony? Or is it that we are seeing very clear that Microsoft has the foundation to pivot because they would have not focused on selling consoles for a very long time? They would always support the consoles for their hardcore gamers. However, they would have pivoted to other avenues, software, the Fire Stick, the television, to bring persons into their platform. And because of that, Microsoft is reaping the rewards. However, we are seeing Sony is now trying to pivot from selling consoles. But let me hear what you think about the comment sections below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.